Can't tell you how thrilled I am to be in Alabama. 30 years ago, somebody said their experience of being in this state. Well, 30 years ago, the Army taught me to fly helicopters here. And, I'm at a point in my life, my boys are grown, and it takes a lot to get me out of Texas, but as soon as Becky mentioned coming here, she had me at hello. So I'm just as thrilled as I can be. So
we love Texas.
Yes, ma'am. Well, relatives on my mom's grandmother are from Alabama. And it's ironic, since we've joined the SEC, which we absolutely love, we've been reminded that most folks from Texas came from this part of the area, whether it be from here or Georgia. So I'm very happy to be here. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
What I'd point out before I go through this is Texas and Alabama are really in a similar situation as far as gambling. Yeah, Texas has a lottery, but it was an old-time lottery at the time. But we have a Class 2 tribe there, the Kickapoo, offer casino Class 2 bingo games. Of course, here you have the similar situation with the creek, Porch Creek, and so when I go through this, I'm not necessarily telling you how to do it, but I just want to share. We're kind of in the same boat, and when I get through, I think you'll see. So, the Texas Lottery came into our state with the promise of funding education. It's failed. That was 1992. Our legislation just went in about 3 weeks ago. The number one topic in 2025 is funding education. So it was there was a discussion there whether you would raise funds through a sales tax or the lottery, and the thought at the time was that the sales tax would be too regressive. Well, so they went with the lottery. There'd be a voluntary tax, and what you're going to see today, and that's proven out, is the sales off this enterprise would, when it comes to regressivity, would make a sales tax blush. So the arguments: free money. All that money is going to fall from the sky. Why wouldn't you do it? Come on. I mean, that's just free money that's sitting around in people's discretionary income. Everybody's got about $5,000 in the side of their bank account they use to go to the picture show or, buy yo-yos. So it's just out there. The next argument involves money. Anybody guess what it is? You hear it all the time. We're losing money to other states. And to sprinkle on top of those two arguments is disingenuous, and in Texas the argument's as old as dirt, and I'm sure it's here in Alabama, is that, look, I'm not for the lottery. You don't got to be for it, but let's let the folks decide. That's the oldest trick in the book. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through a couple of responses that we have, and I'll just address that first one. I tell folks and reinforce the people have decided. When you're, if that member is not in the interim going to the Rotary Club, telling folks that when you send me to Montgomery or Austin, I'm gonna vote on the lottery. I'm gonna vote yes, and is upfront with its members. If they do that, then King's X, have at it. You get elected. But if you don't do that, don't come to the Capitol State House and get tricked by fancy lobbyists. And I'm sure y'all got, Austin doesn't have a monopoly on fancy city lobbyists. I'm sure there's plenty in this state as well. So what we look at, and some of the data, is the money that goes into these enterprises. We can tell a lot about it. We can tell where it comes from through census data. We can quantify how much has to go in, which is so many times left out of this discussion. And we can point out that this business is about scratch tickets. A lot of people don't realize that. Texas Lottery is doing about $100 million a week. Of that, they get around 75 to 80 million of it as scratch tickets. Scratch tickets are impulse purchases with immediate gratification. So where the lottery business makes its money. I wouldn't have been able to do this for as long as I have if it was just about draw games. Somebody spending $1 and on $1 billion and finding out. They make their money through impulse purchases with immediate gratification, which I don't know are there any Aggies in here? Well, if there are, you don't want to admit it. What that means is not a lot of thought goes into it. No? Okay. Gotta love that, don't you? Huh? Y'all got to enjoy those guys and the girls for a while before we... Also, the response as far as money leaving the state. We're going to be able to quantify that data and show you, demonstrate that fondness really doesn't extend when something's far away when it comes to gambling. The lottery business makes its money out of scratch tickets. People aren't going to drive over 5 miles for a scratch ticket. It's an impulse purchase. It's right at the point of purchase, and that's where they make their money. And the draw games that people may drive a little bit are really insignificant in the big picture. So the first thing that is important is we'd like to talk about tax rate. So the draw games that we talk about, if you could hit those lights just a second. Hang on, I got it.
Explain them, Rob.
Okay, so this top, what you need to know is the prize pool on draw games is right at 50 cents. So in other words, for every dollar wagered, 50 cents is going in to pay the prizes. What that leaves left over is a larger tax rate. So in this model, the tax rate is, I believe, right around 38%. Versus scratch tickets, where more money is put in the prizes. In this model, 72 cents of every dollar is put in to pay the prizes. So it leaves a smaller tax rate, and it makes it more of an ineffective tax. In this particular model, is you're collecting 16%. So with that information, what we're able to is just run you real quick through what 30 years of operating this enterprise in Texas looked like. These are total sales. Starting in 1992, the green line is total sales.
Of scratch tickets?
No, of total sales.
Okay.
So draw games. So we started out doing around $1 billion or $2 billion, kind of rocked around there, and then all of a sudden miraculously hopped up around $8 billion. What's important though is that solid red line, that's the contribution. That's the revenue to the foundation school fund. It's flat. And when you adjust it for inflation, that dotted line, it's even more than flat. One of I'm sorry that you can't see this, but why this has happened right here, this differential, is because the prize payout went from about 54% there to over 60, close to 70% here. So the sales are going up, but because it's more of an ineffective tax at a lower number, it's just barely moving the needle as far as the bottom line. And then likewise, this is a picture from the same period from 92 all the way to 24 of all the different games that's offered. That red line is scratch tickets. All the other products offered by the Texas Lottery are bundled right there at the bottom. That demonstrates this business is all about scratch tickets, which are impulse purchases with immediate gratification. And for interestingly enough, this is a graph of the same period for unclaimed prizes. Prizes that go unclaimed at the end of the year. Look at that. About 80 million bucks a year ago were prizes. You can either say they went unclaimed or the tickets are so tricky that it tricks the citizens. To put this in perspective, those are how the games rank in FY23 sales-wise, where you have scratch tickets up the top all the way down to the bottom, which this game right here. Unclaimed prizes is the number 8 generator of the Texas Lottery. How about that? Isn't that wonderful? So remember these tax rates. That draw games, the tax rate is much more because the prize payout is around 50%. Scratch tickets, it's an impulse purchase. They load up the prize pool, make it larger, and then the tax rate is less effective. So one of the things to note with that data is we're able to paint a picture for y'all of how much money has to be put into these enterprise to generate a set amount. Now, last session, I believe the magic number that was floating around was $300 million that a lottery in the state could generate. Well, if you look at if your lottery just had draw games, to generate $300 million at that tax rate, no ifs, ands, buts, or maybes. This is math. The formula's there. Right around $800 million would have to be put in the machine. If you just did it on scratch tickets at the higher or the lower tax rate, $1.8 billion would have to be put in the machine. The formula's there. That's math. They can't argue that. Now, the trick is try to figure out what percentage in Alabama is going to be coming from scratch tickets as well as draw games. This particular model estimates that around 70% of your sales may not happen after year one, but year two or so to see where you settle down, where it would settle in if it ever came to this state. This picture is allocating 70% of sales to generate $300 million coming from scratch tickets, and then the 30% from the draw game. So that's $1.5 billion. It's a little bit over $1.5 billion. It's not a guess, it's math. So the real question is, whenever people talk about, well, come on, we're losing money, we want it, we run convenience stores. There's not $1.5 billion sitting around in Texas or Alabama in somebody's discretionary account looking for something to do. Majority of the folks, me included, figuring out how to pay all the bills, getting a star if I pay all my bills in 1 month. And so this idea that this is going to be new money, or somebody's telling y'all, the petroleum folks saying, why don't you do it? It's new money. The reality of the situation is this is money that's already in the economy. This is money that, the convenience stores, the convenience store business, they operate on small margins. The lottery business, when it comes into those type of operations, it's really like gas. They don't make any more on it than gas. They got to have it because the person across the street has it. But at the end of the day, where they do make money, which is perishables, the markets are bigger, whether it's fried burritos. Do y'all have fried burritos here in the convenience stores? Well, in Texas, we got fried burritos. They're very good. You can tell. I don't like them, but I heard they're good. So that's where they make money. So when these folks are talking to y'all about this is a great idea, $1.5 billion, I need it to run my convenience store. Tell them to think about, one, those people that are coming there spending their money right now, buying those biscuit sausages and those donuts back there, and the margin they're collecting on them versus what the potential Alabama lottery is going to pay them. So it's a very important economic question for them to consider. Now, let's see where the sales come from. This is some data that I use. I'm not making it up. I guess this is a quick for you Aggies. So this is actual sales data from the Texas Lottery in FY23, as well as census data that we go capture, and we're able to see where the sales are coming from. So this first here is, these are Texas House districts, and they are Texas House districts with the most sales in fiscal year 23. So Rep Campos is out of San Antonio. Their per capita income is right around $26,000. They did $102 million in lottery sales in that district. And, oh, by the way, contributed to, those sales equated to around $25 million to pay for the schools. So you can see these are the top selling districts and their per capita income. Well, let's compare that to, these are the richest house districts in the state of Texas. What do you bet their lottery sales are? Morgan Myers, Highland Park, Dallas, where rich people really do live. Their per capita income is $106,000 a year. They spent $24 million on lottery tickets. $24 million versus $102 million. It comes from the poor areas. All you know that. Our challenge is to convince people and show data, and really and truly show data of, you might as well just identify your poor areas in your community, tax them, and take the money in. That's, in essence, what you're doing. So real quick, I'll walk through. This is Dallas House districts, and this is per capita sales. This is per capita less than 20,000, around 20,000, and then goes up at the end. This is education level. The red is high school, didn't get out of high school, down, College education going up, not surprising. These are the poor per capita areas and the higher per capita areas. This is voting age public. Red is Hispanic, blue is African American. This is public assistance, high in these areas, low in these areas. Same as this is SNAP, food stamps. Pay attention to that. I think that's around $50 million going in that one legislative district under that program for food stamps. We then lay lottery sales on top of it. Now that paints one picture. You can see in that district where they had just about as much lottery sales as SNAP going in. That paints one picture. But then we graph underneath it a contribution to the school fund coming out of these districts. This school fund, just like the other one I showed, is extending north of nearly 20 million, between 15 or so, to pay for our schools. This one, who's rich, is sending 5. We graph it as a percentage of per capita income. There's no doubt. It's a regressive tax. Likewise, this is that district by product. The green is scratch tickets, impulse purchases with immediate gratification. All the other products are down below. This last one is prizes. You'll hear people will say, well, you know, Texas did $8 billion in sales, gave back $4 billion in prizes. Rob, what's the big deal? The problem is that a large percent of those prizes are rewagered. So not unlike a slot machine where when it gives credits, it actually, a majority of those sales are actually rewagering those credits they won. So they're playing catch with the same dollar. Same thing happens in the lottery business. One thing that makes the question here in Alabama different than it was in '90 in Texas is technology. Lottery couriers, if you haven't heard about them, they came in our state. They had the help of our lottery staff, brass, and the chickens are come home to roost in Austin about the whole scenario. But the long and short of it is they're selling tickets over phones, and you can buy draw tickets, you can buy scratch tickets. They were advertising last night on Fox News. So any folks that are telling you about a lottery in Alabama and somehow or another how to be a benign enterprise because you got to go in the store and make that purchase, this industry has come in across the country. The lotteries can't stop them. Some of them are offshore from Malta. And not only do they allow you to purchase on your couch a $100 scratch ticket, but they send you a notice. They send you a text. Hey, buddy, it's Friday. Feeling lucky. And if you haven't seen, this is a purchase of one of them. That's my dear wife of 28 years finger right there, by the way. Her name's Molly. She's a star. So you can purchase that electronic facsimile of a scratch ticket over your phone. They send it to you, $100. They got $100 scratch tickets. And you can scratch it there with your finger. And then you push that button and it tells her she lost. She did. Yeah. You know what she said to me? Can we do it again? No. Okay, so these are some of the highlights of what's happened in our state, where not only did our esteemed executive director work with these little characters to let this enterprise come in and change the rules, but he also worked with them to corner our market, corner our jackpot. Last year we had a $95 million jackpot in Texas. Lottery couriers, 3 of them, got terminals delivered to them by the Texas Lottery, and there was 26 million combinations to that jackpot to win $95 million. They bought 99.9% of the combinations with the help of our lottery. Man, don't you want that kind of stuff in Alabama? I mean, It's been widely publicized. It's everywhere. And it's real. So I'll touch real quick on Indian gaming. Normally when you talk to folks, I start to gaze over with this, but I will tell you for me, what in my work in Texas is making sure folks are not surprised that like happened in Florida, which I'll touch on in just a second, that any movement in Alabama from where they sit right now, Class 3, even a lottery, because of what lotteries have turned into, will empower Class 2 tribes that are currently in the state as well as ones that have an historical presence. I won't touch on, just briefly, there's a wonderful little handout from the
Alabama
Policy Institute that talks on the level of federal gaming, Indian Gaming Regulatory Act. But I would like to highlight, technically lotteries are Class 3, okay? But when the Texas Lottery approved the lottery back in '92, our Class 2 tribe tried to take us into Class 3 negotiations and failed. That is all to tell you that it's got to be, in my opinion, an actionable Class 3 event. In other words, it's got to be for the tribe to feel that their sales are being heard and they've got a better argument to move forward once you pierce that Class 3 and or let it continue to operate. So what you should know now, what I've showed you about the lottery couriers, you approve that lottery in this state, they start operating in that state, there's no question. That is an actual Class 3 event that is electronic facsimile of a game of chance, and it will empower the Class 2 tribe that's currently here to go through that compact process. Florida, right now, the Seminole tribe in Florida offers sports wagering. Back in 2004, the Seminole tribe was just like the Porch Creek here or the Kickapoo in Texas. They conducted Class 2 bingo. Finally, the horse guys in Florida were successful, got a county-by-county referendum. They wanted to put slot machines in the horse trap because they said business was tough. They were successful in one county on that one vote. That pierced Class 3 in the state of Florida. That Seminole tribe, who was a small tribe in Florida, went through the compacting process. Long and short of it, they are now the largest gaming company in the world. You look at Hard Rock, that's owned by the Seminole tribe. State of Florida right now, they offer sports wagering. You can be in Tallahassee, hundreds of miles away from the reservation. You get on your phone, you can play sports wagering, and they say, well, you're supposed to be on the reservation, and oh, by the way, in the Florida Constitution to this day, sports wagering is illegal. And also the citizens of Florida passed an amendment that you were supposed to vote on it before you expanded gambling. Well, okay, but we're just going to amend our contract to go through the federal process, and we're going to consider it because whenever you're on your phone and you place that sports wager, yeah, it's on your phone and you pay it there, but that transaction travels all the way over to our reservation on a server. That's where the transaction happens. So therefore, wave one, it's been made on an Indian reservation. That's how crazy it can be. I won't go too much into the IGRA, but it's very, very important. These right here, the land acquisition rules and the new class tribal compact process, they were changed under this last administration. Makes it very easy. And for example, for a state like Texas, y'all can't see that, I know, but what this is those are about 18 tribes in Oklahoma. Most folks in Texas never heard of them. But this is broken down by their historical land and Senate districts. These are our senators, 31 of them. So those rules that were recently changed make that a big deal now because they're not currently in our state. But if we ever go to Class 3, they'll have an opportunity to come in our state and make an argument to take land and put it into trust. You'll have the same, and I won't say issues, but just know about them. One of the unique things, and I love history, is, you know, the Chickasaws, the Choctaws, the Cherokee, they were all here. So that's something to know. And if you're a history buff like me, it is fascinating, but it has consequences. I am not going to put y'all to sleep with that, but that's just if you get in the process, diagramming, going through the Class 3 compact process and the slippery slope. I do want to talk about this with the time I have. Sports betting. Man, what is the big deal about sports betting? And our governor in our state said it's entertainment. I'll share a story. Normally, people say, Rob, what's the big deal? It's not a matter of time, it's a matter of when something's going to happen. That was nearly 20 years ago. But this has really turned it on its head in the sense that so much data is coming out from these states that have done this that is bad. It's really helping the people like us in Texas that don't have it, and it should help you. So what I've done here is just like I quantified, and y'all can't see that at all, and I'm so sorry. But what I've done is quantified. I read in one of the articles that somebody said that the state of Alabama was leaving $65 to $90 million on the table if they did sports wagering. Can y'all hear? Am I all right? Yeah, we're good. Okay, so what this graph, what this can show is, y'all can't see it, but just as you were able to quantify how much has to go in, the $1.5 billion to generate $300 million worth of lottery, you can do the exact same thing with sports wagering, okay? The difference is it's not quite like casino or lottery or slots where the price payout is set. It's real static, it's real easy, it's just math. There's kind of a moving variable in sports wagering called gross gaming win rate. And what that basically means is what's left over after the prizes are paid. So for the most part, it's around 8%. So 8% is left over after the prizes are paid, ideally. But that can change each week. The nature of their business is to keep, in the most basic sense, in the most basic sense, is to keep wagers on both sides equal. They don't want to be all for here because they want folks that are wagering with them on one side and against on an equal level, so they basically equal out. Sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes the gross gaming rate is 10%. What that means is players had a bad week with that particular sports bet. They could be gross gaming rate was over the top, so sports bet made no money. But the point I'd like to leave you with, and you'll be able to see this on the copy that you get, but at an 8% gaming rate, gross gaming rate, to generate $90 million for the state of Alabama, $11.25 billion would have to be run through that enterprise. Good. To generate $60 million at an 8% gross gaming rate, $7.5 billion would have to be put into that business model. So what you're really talking about is anywhere from 7.5 to north of 11. And that is if they don't include, got 20 minutes?
No.
Oh.
1 minute.
1 minute.
Perfect. I see it.
You sure?
Yeah.
Hey, so here's the deal. Now, that's math, okay? You'll be able to take that, and when folks, especially legislators, you go, where's that going to come from? Much less the $1.5 billion that's supposed to be, left over after everybody bought a yo-yo, that they can go do this. Where's that 11.2 or that 7.5? But the biggest trick in the whole thing when they come and talk to you, especially legislators, is what they do is they do promotional credits. So how that reveals itself, and what you see on TV is they say, you got the cane.
Yep.
We'll give you $1,500 if you come to our site.
That's right.
They take that off. Legislators in some state let them write that off as an operating expense, cut the state taxes, so that, and to give you just an example, the volume we're talking about, in the state of Ohio, their first month of operation in 2023 in January, $300 million in promotional credits. $300 million. There's no other enterprise
they know that if they give it to you, a good percentage of it's gonna get cut.
Yep, got it.
I mean, there's no other business. I mean, that donut shop, I'd love to have like a $1,500 free donut shop, but you know what would happen? I mean, you'd eat for, I'd eat for maybe a week donuts, but then I get tired of it, I would take donuts again. This business model's not built like that. It's kind of separated. She says I have to go home. Thank you all. I can't say that all the time.